Facts First presents Farmers Stay Silent at Auction to Help a Young Man Reclaim His Family's Lost Farmhouse. We don't want you to stay silent, though. Let the world know that you're watching our videos by clicking that like button, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Every family has a story. Some stories are happier than others, but there's always a story. Many children inherit family heirlooms. Some are lucky enough to inherit the family home. Things today are different. Years ago, it was common for children to inherit everything that belonged to their family for generations, and choosing their way of life wasn't really an option. If your father was a shoemaker, you inherited the shoemaking business, and you would become a shoemaker. When your parents were gone, it was up to you to take over and keep the family business going. This was supposed to be David's future as well. He grew up on a farm in Nebraska, and for years his family lived on this land. It was passed down from generation to generation. David expected to spend the rest of his life on the farm and then pass it down to his children, and then hopefully to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Unfortunately, though, the wrong decision was made. The land was willed to another relative who did not consider the interest of future generations. David's family farm was 80 acres. It was sold to a distant relative, and it was no longer in the hands of the family. What David's family worked to build for decades was suddenly gone, and that broke David's heart. He always had a dream of getting his family's land back and then rebuilding it to its former glory. Well, several years after the family lost the land, it went up for auction. When David heard about the sale, he spoke with his father. The two men decided that they would collect as much money as possible to get the land back during the auction. Since neither man was wealthy, they spent their days and nights trying to find a way to come up with the money to get the land back. And on the day of the auction, the men gave up hope. Close to 200 farmers gathered in hopes of placing the winning bid. They thought their dreams for their family and future generations were over. When the auctioneer announced the beginning of the auction, the father and son decided to place a bid and then pray over it. David and his father's bid was the first, and then they waited to see which of the farmers would bid next. The two men were shocked when the room fell silent. There were no other bids. David didn't know what was going on, and nor did the auctioneer. After trying unsuccessfully to get somebody to place a higher bid, he called a break. And he did this 3 times, but still none of the farmers placed a bid. At this point, the auctioneer had no option but to strike the gavel and give David and his family their land back for the bid that they gave. It wasn't a lack of money that kept the farmers quiet, though. The farmers stayed silent at the auction because they wanted to help the young man buy back their family's lost farmhouse. They did it out of respect for the family. Each of the farmers knew that allowing this family to reclaim their land was the right thing to do. The auction took place in 2011, and it was when David and his family were able to reclaim the land. Recently, David was asked about that day at the auction, and he said, "I've had 2 profoundly humbling days in my life. The first was the day my son was born. The second was that unforgettable day at the auction house." When David was able to reclaim the land for his family, he made a promise never to let it fall into the hands of someone else ever again. As touching as David's passion for the family land was, what the farmers did was even more touching. These farmers barely knew David or his father. Some didn't know them at all. The only reason they went to the auction was to see the land go to its rightful owners. One of the farmers says that most landowners like them live by a code. The land stays in the family's hands. When the farmers heard David's story, they knew that they had to be there to see this man reclaim his family's land and his family's legacy. David says that it's incredible that he'll have something to pass down to his son now. He says he'll make sure that his son always understands how crucial it is to keep the land in the hands of the family. Subscribe for more.